Today we're going to talk about 4 different assertive word choices and do's and don'ts of assertiveness. We are going to be starting on page 37, I believe. There we go. All right, before we get started, obviously, you know what I have to do. First thing we learn, direct, honest, and respectful. So next thing we learn, use your imagination. I got it.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry. My brain doesn't work as well as I'm used to.
Believe.
Believe, thank you.
Emotional awareness.
Thank you.
Win-win. I versus you.
Hold on, you're going faster than my brain.
All right, I'll slow down.
And today, we get into I versus you. And I believe we're going to cover sticking to the facts and don't exaggerate. Okay. So who would like to start us off by reading the first couple paragraphs on page 37? Anybody?
Now that you have an understanding about how to change your thinking and feeling patterns, you need some information about changing your behavior to communicate thoughts, feelings, and opinions assertively. You need to choose words that are direct, honest, appropriate, and respectful. These words simply do not fit these criteria and therefore cannot be delivered assertively. Words are only one aspect of being assertive, but you must use assertive words if you are to be assertive with others.
Okay, thank you. And who would like to read the guidelines for assertive word choices for us? Anybody? Thank you, Henry.
Use I statements rather than you statements. Compare the following. You always interrupt my word. You always interrupt my stories. Aggressive. I would like to tell you my stories without interruption. Assertive. Use factual descriptions instead of judgment or exaggeration. Compare the following. If you don't change your attitude, you're going to be in real trouble. Aggressive. If you continue to arrive after 8 o'clock a.m., I will be required to place you on the 2 days probation without pay. Assertive.
Good. Well, don't turn the page just yet. Let's go back to 37. You always interrupt my stories. That's a you statement. I would like to tell my stories without interrupting. Those examples are very clear and straightforward. How about this? Think about it before you answer. Remember the rules. I don't like the way you talk to me. Is that assertive or aggressive? I use the word
assertive.
You. Why is it assertive even though I use the word you?
You started it with I.
Direct, honest, and respectful.
Because even though I used the word you, the statement was communicating how I felt. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't get hung up on the semantics of the word I or the word you, because they're not as important as what you're communicating. If you're communicating something that is about you, it's okay if you use the wrong word. Does that make sense? And the second part, I don't think they had good enough examples. Use factual descriptions instead of judgments or exaggerations. Now I'm going to assertively tell, who will let me volunteer to role play with them? Anybody? Okay. I don't like I don't like it when you interrupt me.
I'm sorry, I won't interrupt you in the
Well,
future.
What?
Oh.
What was wrong with that statement? It was assertive, but what was wrong with it? I didn't include any facts. I didn't tell you what you were doing that I considered an interruption. Does that make sense? So your statements can't be too vague. What are some other examples of exaggerated statements or
Like if
too
you
vague
use
statements?
like always,
Always,
never.
never. What are some other ones? I think I included some. Always, never, hate, love, worst, best. What's another one? Last week we talked about our emotions.
Can you say all of my drugs?
Here's an assertive statement that follow the rules. That follow the rules that we've learned so far. I hate it when you show up 10 minutes late for my class. That's a I statement. I didn't exaggerate, or did I? What made that statement not assertive enough? I hate it when you show up 10 minutes late. I was stuck to the facts. I used facts. What word in there? Hate. Do I really hate it? Or it really bothers me? And this goes back to what we were talking about last week, knowing what you're feeling and why. If I really hate it, then I should use the word hate. And that's part of the honest definition of assertiveness. Being honest about how you feel with yourself and being honest with the other person about how you feel. If you really don't hate it when somebody shows up 10 minutes late for a class, you shouldn't say you hate. You should use an appropriate. And that's what the book meant by appropriate. All right, now let's move on to the next page. Express thoughts, feelings, and opinions reflecting ownership. Compare the following. He makes me angry. It denies ownership of feelings. I get angry when he breaks his promises. Assertiveness and owns feelings. Remember we talked about how we can't really make somebody feel something. We can influence how they feel. We can trigger
Yeah,
feelings.
be a
but-
sort of stand up for yourself, right?
Yep. Next, the only sensible policy is to match the competition. States opinion as fact. It's aggressive and controlling. Next, I believe that matching the competition is the best policy. It owns opinion and is assertive. How is that different than the one right above it?
Because
The word I believe, the words I believe.
States of belief.
You're communicating that that's your opinion. You're not saying, so-and-so politician, we won't get into politics in this
So-and-so.
so-and-so politician is the worst president that we've ever had, or is not doing a good job as president. That's a statement that I'm making, that I'm stating as a fact. I think that so-and-so is the worst president we've ever had, or I think so-and-so was the worst president we've ever had. That's stating an opinion, but it's stating it as an opinion. Does that make sense? So that's why stick to the facts is the way I wrote that. Do you believe we will don't you think we should take this for now?
So stand up for yourself, you know?
Yep. Next, use clear, direct request or directives. This is one of my favorite to use in role plays. Use clear, direct request or directives, commands, when you want others to do something, rather than hinting, being indirect, or presuming. Now, somebody read those examples for us, if you don't mind.
Would you mind taking this to John? Indirect only inquires about willingness. Will you please take this to John? Assertive request. Please take this to John. Assertive directive. Why don't you stop on the way home and pick up milk? Indirect encourages the other to think about not doing it. Will you please pick up milk on your way home? Assertive request. Please pick up milk on your way home. Assertive directive.
All right. Now, we're going to start off with a role play using a stranger on the street
In our
or a
community.
family member. Remember this list? What is this list of? Real world scenarios that the people in this room are likely to encounter and might want to be more assertive or less aggressive.
Friends.
Friends,
Out of the community.
Neighbors.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yep. Thank you.
Landlord,
Landlord.
Boss,
Coworkers.
Significant other.
Ah, my favorite.
we had the one that was like, included everybody in the medical field,
Oh.
doctors, case managers.
Doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Therapists. Case managers.
Associates,
What kind of associates? Be specific. Give me as specific an example as you can think of.
say you're in a club and
You know, they wouldn't be considered friends. You're right. I guess associates is the right word
Yeah.
Yeah.
for that. Thank you, Stephen.
like a fellow club member.
Okay.
Telemarketers.
business,
Let's tie in telemarketers and, yeah, let's just put businesses.
Telemarketers.
I know that's what. All right, what else? Think about your life. Think about situations that you have, that you experience in your life where you want to be less aggressive or less passive. You want to be able to stand up for yourself. I think this is a pretty comprehensive list, but I know we're forgetting some of the big ones, yes.
Don't look at your own problems, see if you can help other people out with their problems.
Well, let's think of specific scenarios where.
That's the scenario.
Right.
Anybody? That's pretty much it.
You don't be bullied, stand up for yourself and don't be bullied.
Well, we have to come up with scenarios where we're gonna practice that and
Okay.
learn how to do that. Bob, scenarios.
As what you could say as a general statement, don't let other people take advantage of you.
Yes, and that applies to all these, and I'm trying to think of more scenarios where we would try to learn how to apply that.
Bullies.
Well, any of these people can be bullies. That's the point. So now let's go over the bottom of page 38 again. But we're going to change up the examples. So I am I'll let the group vote. Stranger, family, friend, or neighbor asking you for money.
I've had that happen to me before.
friends.
Friends? All right, I'm your friend. Who wants to role play with me? Anybody? All right, Vanetta. Would you mind giving me $20? That's the question I want you to ask me.
Okay.
Ask me that question. Would you mind giving me $20?
Would you mind giving me $20?
Nah, I wouldn't mind.
Please?
Wait, I answered your
said
question.
yes.
I
Oh.
answered your question, which is why that
Being
question,
passive.
the way you asked that is indirect. You asked me if I would mind. No, I wouldn't mind.
No, I
Not
wouldn't
going to,
mind,
but I
okay.
wouldn't mind. All right, somebody else. Will you please give me $20? Anybody want to ask?
Will you please give me $20?
No, but she asked assertively, because you asked directly. You asked me a question that required a yes or no answer, getting what you want. And another assertive way is, please give me $20. Somebody asked me, to just say, please give me $20.
Please give me $20.
Okay. I'm just randomly deciding. All right. Why don't you give me $20? Anybody?
Why don't you give me $20?
I don't want to.
I stuttered even. Not very assertive.
And we already did the will you please. Now somebody tell me to give you $20.
Give me $20.
No. But that was assertive. How many people think what she just did was aggressive? Maybe I owe her $20.
Oh, I sort of do.
See? She was very assertive. She told me what to do. Remember, I've mentioned this in every class so far. You can be mad and still be assertive. You can tell somebody what to do, be angry at them, and still be assertive.
Like, she sounded in a way demanding in what she said. Demanding in a way.
What's wrong with being demanding? Wait, let's look at our definition. Rule number 1. Remember, if you forget all the other rules and you only remember the first rule, is it direct to demand something?
Yes.
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 Is it honest?
Yes.
What you're demanding is honest. Is it respectful?
No.
No.
Why not?
It can
If you're
be, I mean,
demanding
if you're
something.
demanding your
You're
15-minute
standing up
break
for
at
something-
work that you deserve, then that's
You're
respectful
standing up
to you.
for yourself, demanding what is rightfully yours.
Mhm.
Now, if you were asking me to give you my smartphone, that's not very respectful to go up and demand that somebody give you something that's not yours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So only you know whether or not you're applying the respectful rule of being assertive. But no, if I owe her $20, there's nothing disrespectful about her demanding that I give her what I owe her.
Sure.
So, all right, let's turn the page. Being direct and honest. We've talked about this a lot, but this whole page is dedicated to being direct and honest, which just drives home how important being direct and honest is to being assertive. So who would like to read the first paragraph or two on this page?
People
Somebody who hasn't
avoid-
read yet. Somebody who hasn't
I'm already
read.
read.
Anybody? Thank you.
People avoid being direct and honest because they have learned it as impolite or pushy.
I'm going to stop you right there.
Mm.
Bob, that's why you thought it wasn't assertive, because it was, you didn't think it was, you thought it was impolite or pushy to demand something.
More so
And
pushy.
that's what the book is saying is, people avoid doing that because they think they're being, did you feel like you were being pushy when you told me to give you $20?
Love it.
Okay, well, I hadn't added the caveat of I owe you $20.
If you did, yeah.
Now, would you have felt like you were being pushy if you told me to give you $20 knowing that I owed you $20?
No.
All right. Please continue, sorry for interrupting.
You're fine. Unfortunately, while attempting to avoid being inappropriate, we sometimes choose words that communicate a lack of respect. Sometimes we are so careful we don't communicate the real message. When we say, "Don't you think?" instead of "I think," we are communicating indirectly. If you really listen to the words, they sound condescending. When you ask, "Why don't you?" instead of "Will you?" you are literally asking a person to find reasons not to.
I'll stop you right there. Ask me, I owe her $20, we've established that now. Ask me, why don't I give you $20?
Why don't you give me $20?
I don't have it right now. So, she asked me a question, I answered her question. Did it get her what she wanted?
No.
Which is me saying, yes, I'll give her the money, or no, I won't? No. So, please continue, sorry.
When you say "I need" and presume someone will take care of your needs, you communicate a lack of respect or an air of superiority.
So I have to stop you again. I love this because I love the material. Please tell me you need the $20 I owe you.
I need the $20.
I know you do, I'm sorry, but I just don't have it. She just told me what she needed, and I responded to what she said that she needed.
That was emotional awareness.
All right, please continue. If I say,
If you say "I need" or "I want," learn to add a request or directive in order to be assertive.
all right, so we're gonna keep going until I give you that $20, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
Tell me you need the $20 that I owe you, and then ask me to give it to you, or tell me to give it to you.
I need the $20 that you owe me, and I need you to give it to me now.
I know you do. I know you needed me to give it to you now. That wasn't a directive or a command or a request. Ask me to give it to you.
Okay.
Tell me you need it, and then
I
ask me
need-
or
Okay.
tell me, depending on which style you want to use. You can use either style.
I need you to give me the $20. Will you please give it to me now?
That was perfect. Who would like to read the last paragraph? Somebody who had, oh, Bob, you had a question?
You also have to consider a certain amount of trust. Say, people who borrow money off of other people, there's a lot of people that do pay it back, and someone you can trust in that always do when they borrow money off of you, too.
That's a good point. Respectful is so subjective. Let's say you're telling somebody who owes you money to give you the money that they owe you. Or you're telling your landlord who is responsible and should fix the stuff that's broken in your apartment to fix stuff. But you don't think that they're going to do it. If you're asking them to do something that you don't think that they're going to do it, you probably aren't being very respectful, or you probably don't have respect for them because you don't trust that they're actually going to do it. You're just asking to make sure that you can say that
Some
you
people
asked.
do, and there have been friends of mine that always pay it back, but there's a lot of people who don't.
Okay. Last paragraph, somebody who hasn't read yet. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Thank you.
These may seem like picky details. You might say, most people know what is meant when I use the word, so what's the difference? The difference is that you may be getting expected results only because people are able to figure out your unexpressed intentions. You may not be getting their respect. Continuing to use improper wording reinforces old habits and interferes with your being truly assertive. You can increase your success rate and improve relationships by using the direct, honest, assertive words.
All right, thank you. Next page, do's and don'ts. These are more examples. So, do, say no politely and firmly. Do express feelings honestly. Do be realistic, respectful, and honest. Do express preferences and priorities. We're going to skip the examples and use our own from the board. Don't say I can't or I won't be able to. Don't depersonalize feelings or deny ownerships by saying things like you make me mad or that's disappointing or that's delightful. Don't exaggerate, minimize, or use sarcasm. Don't defer to be sociable, or agree unwillingly by saying I don't care, whatever everyone else wants is okay with me. All right, so let's start over again. Somebody pick a different scenario or different category of people.
One that's not up there, or one that is?
One that's up there, and then we'll come up with a scenario.
Landlord. Did we-
Landlord. Let's do landlord. Say no politely and firmly. I'll be the landlord. What's a scenario where you need to say no to your landlord? That's maybe not a good example for this one. What do you guys think?
I just picked that one because I had one recently. My landlord contacted.
This is even better. Anyone willing to share your real world scenarios where you want to stand up for yourself or be less aggressive or more assertive? It's
My
great.
landlord contacted me saying that they haven't received our rent check in the mail. We sent it out on time, but they didn't receive it in time, and they didn't email me until the middle of the month, so then there's a $5 per day late fee.
Oh,
My
okay.
husband, she said she called my husband and that the person on the line said that there was a wrong number. My husband checked his missed calls, he did not receive a call from my landlord.
Okay.
So we had to send extra money to my landlord.
All right.
So it was kind of frustrating, but I had to be respectful that the mail didn't get there on time and not let my husband on the phone because he was just calling her a liar and being really upset.
Okay.
I don't know how to make that an example though.
Of saying no. Well, we'll come back. We'll pick something else to say no to. All right. So I'm your landlord. I haven't gotten your rent check, so I've already assessed the late fee, and I'm gonna have to assess some more late fees if you don't pay your rent today. Tell me how you feel, honestly.
I feel like it wasn't,
I'm your landlord. Tell me how you feel.
I feel frustrated because this isn't the first time it's happened, yet we're putting the rent checks on the mailbox in the unit. Is there another way we can go about this, that I can place them in a mailbox and call you every day to make sure you receive it?
Okay. Did you tell me what you honestly feel? Frustration, is that all you feel?
More than that, but I'm not gonna word it because it's not respectful.
Well, what do you feel? Tell the group what you feel, and then we'll figure out how you would say that to your landlord.
I feel pissed off because it's not my fault that she didn't get the rent check, and it's not my fault that she didn't let me know earlier in the month. I
Now-
assessed more late fees than really I deserved because I had no idea she hadn't received it.
Let's learn and use what we already used. Remember, we can't exaggerate. I'm going to flip, you don't have to, I'm going to flip back to page 37. I versus you. I hope I remember everything you said.
Yeah.
I'm angry, I'm mad because it's not my fault that you're not getting the rent checks that I'm putting in the mail. Is there anything wrong with that statement? Is that aggressive, what I just told my landlord? I'm mad
No.
because this is not the first time it's happened. And I'm getting frustrated. Is there anything wrong with that statement? Is that statement aggressive?
I I would say it's aggressive because the person's saying, I'm mad. And emotionally, he's upset with the other person.
Yes, I am
And that
upset.
could cause a confrontation between the two people.
So we're gonna get into confrontations in a future class. There's a way to handle confrontation, but is it being disrespectful? Can you be angry at somebody and still respect them?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can. I get angry at my children all the time, and I love them very much. Can you be angry at somebody that you love?
Yeah.
Can you be angry at somebody that you respect? Yeah. So I actually have a good rapport with my apartment manager. And if I'm upset, I let him know. Look, I'm getting tired of this, and I don't like, I won't get into my personal life. So there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm mad because this is not the first time, and it's not my fault that you're not getting the checks that I am putting in the mail. And it's frustrating.
I'm also frustrated.
But I like how you ended that, by the way.
Mhm.
You were communicating how you felt, which is what the book wants us to do, but then you asked, all right, is there a way we can avoid this in the future?
Right.
So that was an excellent way of doing it. So you expressed your feelings honestly. Be realistic, respectful, and honest. You already did that. This is the third straight month, your report be specific with facts. How many times has it happened where you've put the rent check in the mail and it didn't get to them on time?
This is the second time it's happened.
So you would want to be specific. Look, I'm mad. It's not my fault you're not getting my rent check. This is the second time it's happened and I'm frustrated. So the
Right.
more specific you can be, the better, the more assertive you're gonna be, even if you're angry. All right, what's next? Express preferences and priorities. You already did that by trying to work out a compromise on
Yeah.
avoiding the situation in the future. Don't say I can't or I won't be able to. Well, I can't deal with this. Don't depersonalize feelings. You guys are pissing me off because I'm putting my check in the mail. Is that aggressive or assertive?
That's aggressive.
That broke all the rules we just went. Don't exaggerate. You guys never get it. You guys screw up everything. You know,
Yeah.
you guys are always screwing up stuff in your office. You guys don't know how to run an apartment building.
Right.
That's a pity. Stated as fact. Sarcasm. What's a sarcastic way to respond to a landlord when they said they didn't get your check?
Sure you didn't.
Yeah, there you go. We're not supposed to be sarcastic when we're being assertive. I'm sarcastic all the time with my kids. But. Don't defer or to be sociable or agree unwillingly. You know what? Okay, I'm sorry. I'll bring over another rent check right now.
That's what I almost did.
Especially if you're feeling angry.
That's what
because-
I almost did. I almost drove to her place, and I was like, no, I'm gonna put it in the mail, like I always do. I'm not driving out to, she lives
Yeah.
way far away from me, so I'm not driving all the way out there tonight.
Right. Well, that's okay. I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter what the scenario is. Your doctor, your significant other. If you really don't feel like it's okay, you're not being honest, so you're not being assertive. You're being passive. Does that make sense?
Right.
I love it. All right, let's move on. Practice. With the preceding guidelines, everything we just talked about, write an assertive response that is appropriate for the following situations. You did not understand what your doctor told you and want him or her to restate their message. So your doctor just told you what they think is wrong and why they want to change your medication or why they want you to have a test, and you didn't understand what they said. So how would you assertively ask your doctor to tell you again what they just tried to tell you and that you didn't understand? Anybody?
Will you please repeat what you just told me?
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Okay, that's pretty simple, straightforward.
We repeat what you just told me. I agree with that.
How many people have not asked that question when they've been told something they didn't understand by a doctor or a boss or somebody else? Why didn't you? And this goes back to what we were talking about last week. Emotions, fear, embarrassment,
Make it seem like you're not listening.
or in the case of doctors, one of the things that I think everybody probably has a problem with is, and I used to say this all the time, my doctor's supposed to be the expert. Who am I to question them? Or, you know, they've spent years and years in school of course I'm not gonna understand what they're telling me, because I don't know as much as they do, so why would I ask them to try to dumb it down? Yes, sir?
What you could do is, if you fully don't comprehend what the doctor's recommending you do, you can ask them, can you be more specific?
Okay,
Can you point out what you're saying on a more specific level that's more, that I can comprehend what you're recommending?
I
Okay.
have started, also when it's an overwhelming feeling that I have at the time, or I'm feeling very forgetful, because that happens to me in stressful situations, I've asked for them to print out, directions or directives that I can take home and read over, especially with my spouse, and go over together with family members. That way it's something that I have, that I can reference back to.
okay. Smart. All right, next one. You believe you deserve a raise and decide you ask your boss directly. We're gonna change it around. You believe that you've been living in your apartment for a year and you've been using a very, very old stove. By the way, this actually happened to me. And you believe that your landlord should replace the stove, and you want them to replace the stove with one that's safer and more modern and works better. How are you gonna ask them or tell them? There's lots and lots. There are a million ways we can do this. I'm your landlord, you want a new stove because the one you have is old, doesn't work right, the burners aren't even, the safety light doesn't work. Tell me to replace your stove, or ask me to replace your stove.
What you could say, just point out to them the stove's not in very good condition, is
Yeah, I know.
a more modern stove that'd be more effectively if I had to pay a certain amount of money for that stove.
Do you believe you should have to pay money for the stove?
Probably not if it was in your
And
apartment.
is that an honest request? Are you being honest with what you're
No,
asking?
but you need a new stove, because if you don't get the other one replaced, you can't prepare some food in your apartment.
Yeah, I know, that sucks, I'm sorry. He hasn't asked me or told me to replace the stove yet. Who else wants to go? I can do this all day long. I can shoot everybody down, unless you're assertive.
This stove is not safe and I need you to please replace it.
That was close. I know you need me to. I'll get to it when I can. She didn't ask me or tell me. She didn't ask me a question that required me to say, yes, I'm going to replace her, or no, I'm not. Anybody else? Oh, before we move to somebody else, which I hope you guys are willing to play this game with me, because I like role play. Tell me to replace it, or ask me to replace it.
Will you replace the stove?
Yeah. I'm sure I'll have money in next year's budget to do that. Think about what I just said. She asked me to do something. I told her I would do it. But you didn't ask, your question wasn't, now you need to be assertive again and ask a different question, or ask the same question a different way. Who else wants to go?
You can also say to the owner, is there any way you can repair the stove that it functions better?
I'm sure there is a way.
Yeah.
We'll get around to one. You didn't ask me to repair it.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I was thinking, I want you to put in a newer, safer stove. And then I was gonna say, when can you get that done? And I'm scared of that answer to that question now.
All right, as a group, let's talk. Yes, I might have money in next year's budget. Let's talk about it. Now the landlord's not listening, you're not talking to the landlord. When do you want the new stove? Because next
Now.
year's not acceptable, right?
Right, I need it now.
Well, I can't snap my fingers and make a stove appear.
I need
As-
it
Be
within
realistic,
a week.
don't exaggerate, a week. As a group, we're not talking to the landlord yet, just as a group, we're talking it through with her, help her
Something
figure
I
out
think is a
what
reasonable
we think
request.
is a reasonable request. You know, it could take more than a week, I'm not the landlord yet. It could take more than a week to order and get it in and get it installed, so
Not if
I'm
I
thinking maybe
stretched
2
it.
weeks. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? What's a reasonable amount of time
Just
to,
ask the person who owns your apartment, how long will it take to do this repair?
okay, I think that's fair. What if I said, well, might be a few months. Before you ask that question, that's a good question to ask, Bob, and I like that approach. And when we get into the different assertive styles, that's one of them. You're going to negotiate. But you have to be prepared to respond to, it could be about 3 to 6 months. And if you don't think that's acceptable, you have to go into the conversation knowing what you want. So You have to know what you want and state it clearly. So when do you want a new stove by?
I need the new stove within the next 2 weeks.
All right, so 2 weeks. Everyone think that's reasonable? 2 weeks? Bob?
Because you have to have some type of food prepared at home every day when you're living in your own apartment, I would think.
You're right. I can't go 2 weeks without cooking at home because I can't afford to eat out that much. Let's say the stove doesn't work at all, or 2 of the burners don't work. I can't make myself or my kids meals. I don't think 2 weeks is short enough. I think they can go down to Walmart or, who sells stoves? Best Buy maybe?
Best Buy.
Best Buy,
Sears.
There's a lot of places.
Yeah, they can fix or get me a new stove within a couple days. So, now, who wants to volunteer? And if you guys don't want to, I'll do it,
With
but
the
I'd rather one of you
holidays
guys try
coming
to
up,
tell.
You could say something like, within the next month, could you get me a stove on sale at Sears?
I'm sure I could, but personally, I don't want to wait a month. So, how are we going to tell the landlord, now I'm the landlord again, you do not want to have to eat out, you can't afford to eat out. Be honest, direct, and respectful, and tell me that you can't go more than how many days eating out? For me, I mean, I eat out all the time, but I shouldn't, so what's a reasonable amount of time to expect the landlord to fix or replace your stove?
3 days.
3 days. Anyone else agree? Okay. Now, how are we going to tell the landlord?
I think,
Hold on.
like you said, I just don't have that type of money to go to restaurants all the time.
That's perfectly acceptable, but you have to follow it up with the demand or request. I need my stove replaced or fixed within the next 3 days. Will you do that? Please. You can even throw please. Anything else? Any other ways you would want to ask? That's perfect, Bob. I can't afford to eat out for too long, and my stove isn't working. Will you fix my stove within the next few days? Anyone else?
What if they say they can't do it in 3 days?
We're going to learn that in a future class.
Well, I'm
It's
okay.
called confrontation. Well, then I'll teach you
So would it
I'll
be
give you the
better?
Cliff Notes version of that.
Would it be
right now.
better to say like, will you fix this within the next 3 days, or I need you to fix this in the next 3 days?
Not I need. I'm sure you do need me to. I can't do it.
Okay.
So, we assertively said or asked, will you fix this within the next 3 days so that I don't have to eat out much longer? You can give them reasons, that's fine. And they say no. Now you're a little upset. You want to communicate that because you want to be honest. So now you're upset. Now you're going to tell them you're going to do this within the next 3 days. So that's not acceptable. I can't afford. I just told you I can't afford to eat out for every night for too long. I need my stove fixed within the next few days. I expect you to do it. I think that's an assertive, angry but assertive. I'm telling them what I expect them to do. And what do you think their response might be?
I still can't do it.
Now I'm going to introduce consequences. If my stove isn't fixed within the next 3 days, I'm going to complain to the county. I can't remember what board, but there's a county office I'm sure that I can complain to, and the Better Business Bureau, because I cannot afford to not have my stove working. It was working when I signed my lease, and it needs to be working now. So I just told them what I was going to do if they don't fix it. Will you fix it or replace it?
I can only do what I can do.
We'll see. See what happens. That was not a pleasant exchange, was it? Was I assertive?
Yes.
Did I break any of the rules that we've learned so far?
No.
All right, next one. You have been invited, this is, for me, this is the hardest one in this book. You've been invited to a social event that does not interest you. Decline the invitation.
It happened to me before.
Okay, so I'm going to invite each of you to go to a movie with a group of 3 or 4 other people that had already decided we're gonna go to a movie. You do not like this movie, not interested in seeing it, you're too shy, you don't like getting out of your house, you're agoraphobic like me, you don't like going places, or you don't have the money. I'm gonna ask each of you to go, would you like to go to the movies with me, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so tomorrow night?
Well,
Hold on.
well, it depends on what movie you're gonna see.
We're gonna see whatever movie you hate. I just pretend I named the movie.
No. I don't think I care to see that movie this time, but please invite me another time.
Did you read ahead in the book? That was the perfect way to decline an invitation. Honestly, tell them, I don't want to. Well, by the way, is the movie the only reason, or do you not like the group that is going?
No, the movie.
Okay, then you are perfectly honest. What do we need? Book?
I want you to take a look at my handwriting.
Oh, okay. Thank you for trying to invite me to the social event. I'm not interested. Very straightforward and to the point. Now, how likely are you to say that to somebody if they invite you somewhere? And you
Well,
don't want to go because you don't like them, or you don't like where they want to go. It's easy to write down. How easy is it to say? How likely are you to say, I'm not interested in seeing that movie?
Likely.
Okay, so tell me again. Hey, do you want to go see the movie you hate with me and Bob and Joe?
No, I believe I'll skip this time,
Why?
because I just don't like that movie.
Okay, we'll see a movie you like.
No, I'd rather you see the movie you want to see.
No, that's okay. We'll watch whatever movie you want to watch. Now you have, what do you really want to do? Do you want to say no for a different reason? Which means you weren't being honest when you just used the movie as an excuse. Because I'm going to keep hounding you until you go or say no.
Well, okay, I'll go with you to the movies.
Do you really want to?
Yes.
If you don't, then you're not being assertive. All right, who doesn't want to go to the movies with me? All right,
I'd
Steve.
say no, thank you.
That's for the assertive. Anyone else?
I would say, no thank you, the movie's boring or whatever, I'd rather not see it, I'd rather not go.
Okay. Anyone else?
you know what's right.
No, I don't have the money to go to the movies right now.
Well, I'll buy your ticket.
Okay.
All right. Well, we're not done. Now, you love the movie, you got plenty of money, you feel like going out and doing something, you don't want to go with me and my friends.
Oh.
Now,
Oh, no.
anyone but Steven, they say no. Hey, who, by the way, raise your hands, I'm not going to pick on people who don't want to participate. Who wants to role play with me? You have to pretend like you really don't want to go out because you don't like it. You don't have to tell me that, by the way. You can be honest. Stephen already gave you the answer. Pretty easy. No, thank you. You don't have to say, no, I don't want to spend time with you. That's honest, direct, and respectful. But do you want to say that? No. So what do you say?
If you ever watch.
Do you have to say thank you?
No, it helps.
It does. I like saying that.
That was what I was just gonna say. I watched Doc Martin, and he would just say, no, and walk away. And he gets in trouble for that.
I
A
know.
thank you would have made
Yeah.
all the difference.
Yeah. No, thank you. Perfect response when you don't want to do something with somebody. No, thank you.
Like you said, is it all right if I can't go to this movie with you if it's got bad subject matter?
Well, that's why I like the other examples that we did, because if you really didn't like the movie and that was the only reason you weren't going, that's fine. If you really don't have the money and you don't mind if I pay, you said, okay, when I said I'll pay. If you don't want somebody else to pay for it, no, I don't like, I'd rather wait until I have the money to go. If that's the real reason why you don't want to go, you're doing it right. If you don't like the person, say no. You don't have to say, I don't like you. All right, next, you are pleased about what somebody has done. This is an interesting one that I've also struggled with in the past. you want to thank somebody for something. You want to tell somebody you really enjoyed, you know, something they gave you or made for you or did for you. I feel uncomfortable sometimes thanking people for things. I hate getting gifts, by the way. Is anyone else in here hate getting gifts? I hate it, getting gifts. So, if you're pleased about something someone has done for you, tell him or her your feelings.
Thank you.
Well, let's come up with a scenario as a group before we start role-playing. What's the scenario? Somebody who's not a significant other or family or close friend, just an associate, gives you a birthday present. Or your neighbor takes your trash out for you. Let's come up with a scenario
I
where...
have a coworker at my work that buys gifts for certain people on staff every year. Not everybody, just certain people. So then that feels you feel kind of guilty
Yeah.
that you're one who got a gift and you don't have anything back for her to get back for her on Christmas.
Okay. So would you tell, now, all right, I'm the coworker. I gave 3 people in this room presents for Christmas. You were one of them.
And
Are you
those-
happy?
those-
Well, hold on. Are you happy with what I've done? Doesn't sound like it.
No.
All right, tell him or her your feelings. Now this is,
hard. This is
we're
really
jumping
hard.
ahead in the book because in a future week, we're going to talk about choosing your battles, which is the best way to. How important is it to you to tell me your honest feelings or opinions
It's
in a
not that
direct, honest,
important
and
because I
respectful
don't want
way?
to hurt her feelings either.
Then there's nothing to say.
I just say thank you
All right.
and accept the gift and hide it in my locker before anybody else
You could
sees.
say like, I appreciate you giving me the gift, but I'd prefer if you give it to me outside of work or something, that way it's not
Or
as
not in front of
obvious.
other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that other people aren't, she's not treating everybody fairly. And I mean,
That's
I have
true.
people at work that I'm a lot closer to too, I'm sure everybody does, but I don't, I try not to.
That's a
Okay.
good idea.
Your neighbor takes your trash out for you, or what do you say?
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Pretty simple, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Save that time.
As a gift, I turned a year older. On the day I turned a year older, earlier this year, one of the drivers of the restaurant gave a gift, gave a couple gifts. And the one cup says Cincinnati Reds on the front of it, and the other gift was a hat that says Cincinnati Reds 1990 World Series champions.
Okay,
Those were nice gifts, I would say.
and what did you say?
Thank you, I thank you for these gifts.
In this era, though, where we're feeling pressured to give and receive gifts, isn't there a
Oh.
more,
Thank you, you got my mind back on track. Please continue your thought.
isn't there more an assertive way so that your values could be taken into consideration? Because this gift-giving thing is overwhelming, especially at the holidays, especially when it's materialism. And it's your way of proving your affection for somebody. So what is the assertive way of getting across the fact that this is not within my value system? I don't want to be constantly bombarded with requests that I give, and I don't want to have to reciprocate gifts that you're giving because that's a social expectation.
The answer to your question is everything is your question. Everything you just said is the assertive way to tell somebody exactly how you feel because you just did it
Kinda
in an
long.
assertive way. You said, you used I statements, you talked about how it made you feel, and you expressed your feeling about not wanting to participate, not liking constant request for.
And why.
Yeah,
that's
and you
okay.
explained why. That was a perfectly assertive way to tell somebody how you feel.
Okay, I'll use a megaphone next.
All right, I think that's pretty much it. Next week, we're going to talk about body language. Now, what was your guys' favorite mini role play that we did today?
I like the movies one, I got to see it the movie.
Okay, okay.
No,
I like the real life.
They were all really
Well,
good.
now, hold on. So let's preview what we're going to learn next week. So I asked you to go to the movies with me and Bob and Joe. And you said, no, I don't have the money or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll buy your ticket. Okay, and you said what?
Okay.
Okay. Now, you used your body language. Hey, want to go to the movies with me and Bob and Joe?
No, thank you.
I asked the exact same question, what was different? My body language, my facial expression, and my tone of voice. That's what we're going to talk about next week. I don't like it when people show up to class late. That's an assertive statement, right? I don't appreciate when you show up to class late. You've showed up to class late, 10 minutes late for the last 3 weeks. That's a perfectly assertive statement. I stuck to the facts, I used I statements, right? I don't like it when people show up to my class late. You've been late to class, you've been 10 minutes late to class every day, every week for the last 3 weeks. Please don't do it again. What was wrong?
Pointing.
Yeah, it was very aggressive. I said the exact same thing, and I tried to use the same tone of voice and facial expression, but my body language was very aggressive. So that's what we're going to get into next week. All right, so that's what we're going to get into next week is body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, which obviously, as you can tell from the quick example I just did, very important.